Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my second session here at Microsoft Ignite. Are you enjoying Ignite? Yeah? Fantastic. How many of you were here for my first session? Raise your hand. Okay, I hope you liked it. I hope you, please give me some feedback. If you've enjoyed it, by the way, my name is Andy Malone. If you haven't, it's John Craddock, okay? All right? John, if you're in the room, I love you, man. Okay, I'm joking. Okay, so we talked about 7346. Now we're going to go one step further, baby. We're going to talk about 7347. Who am I? My name is Andy Malone. I'm an MCT of 21 years. Got me, ooh, wow. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP of 12 years. I wear two hats. I'm a cybersecurity specialist, so you'll see me here at Microsoft Ignite doing deep dive security sessions. I've got one on Thursday and Friday. I did have one yesterday, but the room was packed, so there was queues outside, so we're doing a repeat on Thursday. The other thing that I absolutely am passionate about is Azure and Office 365. I'm actually an identity specialist, so identity and authentication. That's why I had kind of a few demos in that kind of first segment. I'm from Stirling in Scotland, so I'm not English, I'm Scottish. Okay, I live north of the wall, so I'm a wildling, okay? Aye. And I live in a town, by the way, where there's a little castle called Doune Castle, D-O-U-N-E. It's famous for being Winterfell in Game of Thrones, okay? It's also Castle Fraser in Outlander, the TV series, and it's also from the castle from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, yes? Can you get, you know that one, yes? Okay. Okay, so that said, I've chopped quite, if you've got the slide deck in front of you, I've chopped quite a number of the slides out, so you'll have all the slides here. So what's the session? So in the first session, it was all about getting on board with Office 365. It was about understanding the identities, so the difference between cloud and synced and ADFS and so on. This time, it's all about the services. So it's all about Exchange and SharePoint and Skype for Business. And of course, now we know from yesterday, from Satya's chat, that Skype for Business will be rebranded into Teams later on. So we're going to talk about the, I want you to pass this exam. So in there's lots of tips and tricks on, there's about 4 or 5 slides that I'm just missing here, by the way. Which talk about all the Microsoft certification program. And I'm sure these lovely people outside will tell you how wonderful the Microsoft certification program is. And I'm sure if you didn't know anything about it, you wouldn't be here, right? So obviously you know something about it. But the most important thing is, Andy, tell me about 7347. So 7347 is enabling Office 365 services. It's all about managing clients and end user devices. We talk about provisioning SharePoint on-site collections, things like site collections, and also we configure Exchange Online, Skype for Business for end users as well, and also plan Exchange Online and Skype Online for Business. Okay, and the full update is in the link just at the bottom of the slide, and you can click onto that, and again, you've got all of these slides, by the way, all right? So, first up, managing clients and end-user devices. Of course, one of the things that I've said already in my earlier session is the core of everything here is Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory is everything. So Office 365, whether you've got Intune, you know, Intune, the mobile device management platform, everything all kind of leads in to this. So we'll talk about managing user-driven deployment. So talk about deployment of, what do you mean deployment, Andy? I'm talking about deployment of Office Pro Plus, okay? So Office Pro Plus, of course, can be deployed in one of 3 ways. Users can do a self-installation. They can go to their portal, and they can click it, and it can just download. Very nice and easy. You can do what we call a managed deployment. And with a managed deployment, there are a couple of different tools that you can use. There's one called the ODT, the Office Deployment Toolkit, or the Office Deployment Tool, rather. And you can also use SCCM, System Center Configuration Manager, okay? So this particular exam focuses on the ODT part of it, all right, which I'm going to explain to you. The third method, of course, is the chances are if you've got one of these wonderful Windows devices, mine's got a little fruit on it, but never mind. If you've got one of these Windows devices, then the chances are Microsoft Office has already been deployed on it. So that's the 3 different ways of getting it. Andy, tell me something that I need to know quickly. Okay, so first up, if I go to my portal, and of course, when you go to your 365 portal, it looks like this or something like this. And of course, up here on the, I can go ahead and I can download Office 2016 here. Okay. Andy, can I download Office 2013? No. Officially, no. Unofficially, yes. You can obviously get it through other channels. If you're corporate, you can still use Office 2013 as well. If you hear me talking about OPP, I'm referring to Office Professional Plus. It's just an acronym, one of these Microsoft acronyms. So just a couple of little tips and tricks about it. So that's one place the user can go in, they can download it, simple enough. One interesting thing that you might be interested to know is if I go into settings here in the admin portal, and if I go into services and add-ins, this opens up almost immediately. Okay. You can see these are all my kind of settings. Just a quick tip for the exams, definitely take a look at this area because there's always the odd little check box or something interesting worth clicking on. And you can see here, by the way, this is an E5 plan, so remember if you've got like an E3, it might not quite look like this. So a couple of things, Office software download settings. So I can click into here, and this is what I want my users to see. So in the portal, when my users come into the portal, this is what they will see. So if I, for example, switch off if I switch off the Mac version or switch off Skype for Business or something like that, when they go into their portal, they won't see those things. All right? Yeah, yes. You know, no, not through here, you can't. No, I know, yeah. Yeah. Another thing about that as well is the Office Online. So this is the Office Online version, you know, the web-based version, which is actually pretty cool, actually. Okay, so again, do you allow people to use third-party storage devices? So do you want them to allow Dropbox and things like that? So that's, again, something that you could disable if you wanted to. So again, quite nice. So that's one thing. If I just go back to the active users, in fact, I think I've got a slide of it coming up. So a user, of course, you get 5 licenses. You get 5 device licenses. Okay, and every time you install Office, it uses one of your licenses, but you also get additional license for, let's say, devices. So if you've got like an iPad or an iPhone, or sorry, a Windows phone, okay, or an Android or something like that, you get licenses there. But the key thing is that, okay, what if I installed it on 5 devices and the machine blew up or the disk failed or something like that? In that case, you can come back into the user account. Yep, so here's Andy's account here. I think I've got a slide of this in a second. And if I go, just wait for this to come alive. Yeah, and you can see here it says Office installs. Okay, so I can go in here, and you can see there's nothing there at the moment. But any Office installs would be listed here, and I could then deactivate the license on that machine. Yes, and then reclaim my license back for that user. That's really useful, okay? So that is just that little thing there. So what we're focusing on here is we're focusing really on the deployment. And as I mentioned, this is what the end user will see, the self-installation option. Again, you can get help on that there, and you can close it down. It would just kind of zip it down. Self-installation, so that's just the settings that I just showed you there. A managed deployment, you can use the ODT. So the ODT is the Office Deployment Tool. If you do a search as well, typically it's a text-based tool. So it creates a little text file. Now, if you're nervous about text files, there's actually an online kind of web page that you can go and you can go click, 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 and it actually creates the text tool for you. But seriously, it's really, really simple to use. In fact, so simple, I'm going to talk you through the whole thing. So essentially, it creates a text file, and it basically allows you to identify to your users the source location. So if it's in a shared folder, / server / share, whatever you want to call it, you can specify whether you want 32-bit or 64-bit as well. You can also determine the architecture, the language or languages. So because it's an XML file, the file, by the way, is called configuration.xml. Okay? So because it's an XML file, you can actually store multiple languages in it. And because it's a dynamic file, check it out. You can deploy, you can take features back, push features out, you can uninstall, reinstall. Every time the user logs on, it can be different if you want to. Okay? It's really flexible and insanely simple to use. So this is essentially what it looks like. I can basically say, okay, so configuration, add source path, / server share, and you can see client edition 32 or 64. Okay? Product ID, it's always Office Pro Plus Retail. You can have one single language, or you can have multiple languages. Andy, how can I remove a language? Just remove one of the languages. Add another language. Okay? Simple. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then, I can basically say, okay, when the user, I could add this line as well. So display level equals none, except EULA true. Okay? So display level none means that the end user license agreement, when you install software and it comes up, yeah? If you choose full here, so if I click full, yes, it means it will appear. Except user false would allow the user must select the license. Okay? I'm not one to put money on, but if I was, that could almost come up as an exam question. Okay? All right? So, there we go. All right? Everybody cool with that? So, another thing that we can also do is you can, as I said, you can add, remove, upgrade, you can, all kinds of stuff. So, in this example here, you can see I can add in different languages, but I can also add in different software as well. Please note, however, look at the names. Some of the names, they keep the old names. That's just bad programming, yes? So, for example, in PowerShell, if I was creating a SharePoint user in PowerShell, if I did new SP user, that means new SharePoint user, okay? If I did new -SPO user, it's a SharePoint Online user. That's simple, right? But when you look at Skype for Business, it's new -CS user. You think, CS? What's that? Anyone? Communication services. That's right. OCS, that's its old name, right? Okay, so come on, Microsoft. Yeah, so there we go. Yes, yeah. No, it's just CS. That's the trick. Yeah, it's just CS. That's it. Okay, this one always comes up in the exam, apparently, yes? And I always get this question, Andy, what if we've got the scenario, let's say we're in a library, or let's say a nurse's station in a hospital or something like that, and you get like laptops or PCs that are shared users, you know, so one user logs on and yeah, okay? So the idea is you can download or install a copy of Microsoft Office, but you can not register it to a particular user. So by using this thing called shared computer licensing, you can do this. So Bob logs in, and because Bob is an authenticated user in 365, he can get access to everything. Yes? So, hey. So Bob logs out, and then Karen logs in. And again, Karen is an authenticated user in 365. So when Bob logs out, it clears everything out about Bob, and then Karen logs in, and it activates Office. And then Julie, so Karen logs out and Julie logs in. But Julie's not an Office 365 user, or she's not authenticated. But what will happen is Julie can still see the records, she can still see her documents, but she can't print and she can't edit and so on. Okay? Just be aware of that. Okay. So, how is this miracle achieved? Thank you, sir, for asking that question. So, again, we just go back to the text file, and this is the golden ticket here. You can do this in two ways. So you can do a display level equals none, except EULA true, but this is the key line underneath. Property name equals shared computer licensing with a value equals 1. So if I need to switch it off, value equals 0. Okay? Easy. All right? So you can do it that way, or you can do it the other way, where you're actually putting it into the registry. So you can push it out in, let's say, for example, group policy. So if you do a GPO, you can then say HKey local machine, software, Microsoft Office, the version of it, click to run configuration, add a regSZ entry, and call it shared computer licensing with a value of 1. Easy. Okay? Is everybody deliriously happy so far? Yes? Yeah, it just works. It's perfect. Yes? Yeah, it works. Trust me. Okay, all you people who work on these kind of, you sat there, I know what you're thinking, you're going, that's cool. I like that. Yes. Okay. So, now, I've put other slides in there, by the way. So definitely take a look at the ODT, and when you look at the Office Deployment Toolkit, it tells you all about what the different lines of text are, but it's really simple, guys. Really, I mean, it's like this much text. There's nothing to it, right? As long as you understand the basics of it, it's good. Now, this definitely comes up in the exam, but I got to tell you, from a trainer perspective, this is a nightmare because there's very little documentation on this. All right, very little documentation. This is called the Office Telemetry tool, and you can download it as part of Microsoft Office. Now, to be honest, it sounds terribly complex, but check it out. Basically, download the tool, okay, and when you install it, it installs it with a version of SQL Server Express. It does it itself. It just installs it onto your machine, and it gives you like a little portal. You can then have a little agent, and you can push that agent out to all your client machines. All right? So the idea is, you probably guess what's going to happen here, right? Of course, the agent lights up, and the portal says, hey, this is the telemetry from your users in Microsoft Office. So I'm sure we've all used Microsoft Office and got that inevitable message, Microsoft Office has failed, or there's been a problem. Do you wish to report the error? Yes? Remember that? Unfortunately, I do. Yeah. Okay. So, and again, rather than sending that telemetry information to Microsoft, it sends it to you. And that's what the telemetry tool does. Yes? So if users are having problems, let's say, with spreadsheets that you've written macros for, or I don't know, whatever you've done, yes? If you've got problem documents out there, it's a fantastic tool for that. So this is essentially what the Office Telemetry tool does. All right? Okay, so health monitoring, troubleshooting end user features. Again, it helps with upgrades and also regular updates as well. Okay? By the way, you can also do updates through the text tool as well, the application updates there as well. In fact, I feel like an urge just to show you a slide that's not in the slide deck. Can I do that? I think it's important. It's maybe a slide I forgot to put in the slide deck. So let me just show you this. I actually run a masterclass on 365. See that? That was a really good plug, don't you think? Okay, let me just... Office Pro Plus. Let me just show you this slide. You probably definitely want to take a copy of this. Or take a picture of it anyway. Yeah. Updates. Let me just show you this. So this is the update. Yes? So as an administrator, you can download the updates. Okay? So in this, you can download updates, put them into a shared folder, and then you can go into that text file and you can type in updates enabled true. Update path is this. The target version is 16.107, yes? But check it out. The deadline, you can put the date and the time. So when the users on your network are working in Microsoft Office, you know, you see the yellow bar that tells you that there's updates in Microsoft Office. Yeah, I'm sure we've all seen them, right? So basically, if the user doesn't click that or clicks cancel, that deadline date will kick in and it will force the update on that date. So it says, it will detect, hey, you've not got that update, I'm going to push it out to you. All right? Okay? Did you get a photo, yeah? Okay, what I might do actually, I might be nice to you guys. I might put some additional content on my share. If you give me a few days, I might put some additional documentation up for you. Okay? I give you a good price. I make special price for you, eh? Okay. Okay. So, software deployment. Okay, cool. So, telemetry. Again, you can imagine the agent lights up, bring, and you can see I get all this nice telemetry. You can get all these lovely graphs and charts and fantastic stuff. Okay. Key thing there is in the middle, but this slide's really good because it shows you the step. So the Office user generates an error, and again, the agent picks it up. The reports go into a shared folder. And then, of course, the agent produces the data, the telemetry. Okay. So this is a good slide just showing you the difference between OPP and the online version and your traditional kind of Microsoft Office versions. Okay? Good. Okay, so managing, okay, here's a question. You have to reinstall Microsoft Office Pro Plus on a remote desktop services server. What's the correct configuration here? The answer is, yay, there we go, B. Exactly, that's just what I said, right? Okay, cool. Up next, let's talk about SharePoint. So how many of you are experts in SharePoint? That's okay. Just for the audio people in the room, nobody raised their hand there. Okay, I can't tell you how. You know, when I teach this class, I often ask my class, "Hey, what's your knowledge in AD?" And they go 8. What's your knowledge in Exchange? And they go, "Oh, 8, 9." What's your knowledge in SharePoint? I have no idea. Yes. So, and it can be a little bit daunting. SharePoint can be a little bit daunting. Now, you don't need to be an expert in SharePoint, but I can tell you that there were at least 3 to 4 questions in the exam on external sharing in SharePoint. All right? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little just an overview of external sharing in SharePoint Online. So just a little demo of working in SharePoint. So I'm going to flip over to my portal, and I'm going to scroll down into my admin center. So this is Andy's quick guide to SharePoint. All right, I'm going to go into SharePoint. And the first thing that you'll see is this is the SharePoint Admin Center. So this is the admin center for your tenancy. All right, let me just zoom out, it's a bit big. And yeah, so you can see here I've got a number of SharePoint sites. So this is from the tenant administrator perspective. All right, so there are 3 perspectives that you need to know about in SharePoint. So I'm going to open up a SharePoint website first of all right, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about sharing and so on. So if I go into the SharePoint website, oh, great. Yeah, okay. You know what? Let me just... You know what? I'll bet you if I do this, it's probably because it's just timed out. It's because it's timed out. It's all to do with cookies, my friend. Cookies. Okay, so SharePoint. So if I go into my SharePoint site, hopefully this will work this time. Make the demo gods be nice to me, please. What am I doing? Sorry. There we go. Okay. You know what? No, it's probably because it's just, I need to log in again. That's probably, it's just holding on to the cookie. So portal.office.com. Ooh, looks like a porn site. I don't want to go there. Office.com. Okay. I never go to them. Yeah. Okay. So, you realize there's somebody at Microsoft listening to this tape now going, he'll never work here again. Okay. So, I'm going to go in here. Nice fast internet here, though. And now, I bet you if I go in, I will scream if it doesn't. Let's try one more time. Oh. The what? Yeah, I think you're right. Where am I? Where is the SharePoint? There you go. Okay, so, okay. No. No, that's weird, dude. You're kidding me, right? No, the only thing is, it could be down, of course. SharePoint could be down. It can be. Sometimes I've seen it. Let me choose another site. Let me do that one. Okay, yeah, maybe it was just that site. Okay, so I'm going to go into this site. This is a OneDrive site here. Yes, you can see that this is a OneDrive portal. Just a couple of interesting things from an admin perspective, irrelevant of the site. All these SharePoint sites just are generated from templates. Yes, so you can create different types of templates. So if I click into my site settings, and you can, if I go into my site settings, this is now where your administrator, this is the site settings for the site, all right? From an exam perspective, users and permissions, this is where you can grant your users, you can make the groups, the users, you can add them for this particular site, okay? This is the traditional SharePoint method, by the way, okay? So there's obviously that Microsoft are making it easier, but these are just definitely areas that I would be familiar with. Let me just shut that off. Other interesting things here, site permissions, I'll come back to that in a minute. Interesting areas, regional settings. So this is where you would set, the days of the week that you want to work, times, and so on. Language settings. So if you want to support multiple languages, this is where you would set that up here. From an admin perspective, because this is a site collection, yes, so an admin, when you create sites and site collections, I can create a site collection as a tenant admin, and I can grant you are going to be my site collection administrator. What you then do is you then create sites for HR, for sales, for marketing, and you then assign you're going to be the administrator for sales, and so on, yes? And then you manage your users. For me, this is nothing to do with me, because I'm the tenant administrator. So it's very much a waterfall approach with SharePoint. All right. One thing that you do get, though, of course, in SharePoint, OneDrive for Business and OneDrive, of course, is when you delete something, it goes into your recycle bin. If an administrator, so for example here, if I go back to my, this is the SharePoint Admin Center, so I can select a particular site, bless you. I can select a site here, and I can delete that site if I want to. So I can delete this site, and it would send it into the recycle bin. Okay? So that will stay there for up to 90 days. Okay? And potentially I could bring that back. Now, officially, for the exam, officially, it's 30 days. Officially. Right? But unofficially, it can be done for 90 days. All right? Okay. So, on the subject of permissions, because permissions are really, really tricky. So, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to select a site. So, I will select this, what shall we do? Let's call this one here. I'll just use this one. And up here, you've got sharing. So, I'm going to select sharing here, and you've got some options. So am I going to don't allow sharing outside this organization, allow sharing only with external users that already exist in the directory. So users, groups, and contacts. Allow external sharing to users who accept invitations. So this is guest users. Yes? By the way, you can share with up to 500 external users per site. Okay? Allow external sharing by anonymous. Watch out for that one. The reason being is because if you've got anonymous and I share it with you, you can then go and share the content with somebody else, and I lose control of that content. So be very careful selectively with that. All right?
What option is there?
Sorry?
What option is there?
Hold on. Easy, cowboy. Okay. I'll show you another one. Right. So that's how you do it there. Yes? So you can set it here. What about the default settings, Andy? How do you do that? Great question, sir. Okay. So if I go into my sharing tab here, this is the site collection sharing. So this is where you set your default settings. Okay? The default. So you can say, don't share anything outside the organization. So I could say, allow users to invite and share content with authenticated external users. That means that if you're a guest user, I'll send you an email and you'll accept my invitation. But Andy, what if I don't have an Office 365 account? It doesn't matter. As long as you've got a Microsoft account, it's absolutely fine. Okay? Hang on, let me time travel. Oh, so you can now do it with probably with LinkedIn. You can probably do it with Google. Eh?
With a one-time password code.
Okay, thank you. There you go. I wasn't in the session this morning because I was here. There's always somebody in the room that does that to me, you know? You should know, Andy. Okay, so who can share outside your organization? So let users selected security groups. Okay, so who can share? What's the default type link? Either direct, only people with have permissions, internal, or anonymous. So again, make sure that you select this very carefully. Additional settings, limit sharing, prevent external sharing from files and folders and sites that users don't own, yes. And again, you've got email notifications. So just a big exam tip. Please check this out and make sure that you understand these settings. You will get at least 3 or 4 questions in the exam on this. Go ahead, sir. Sure. Okay, certainly. Yeah. So in the server resources, in your data center, let me just go back here. Where am I? Yeah, let me just do this and go back here. Okay, so depending on your SKU that you get with Office 365, you will have a certain number of resources, okay? So let's say, for example, if I click onto this server resources, yeah, so you can, you know, the percentage of, so this is the 5,000 resources available to you for your tenancy, right? So the question is, if I go and create a site collection and you know that it's going to be hit by a lot of users, you want to give it as much resources as possible. But if you want to be able to just distribute your multiple sites to multiple users, you would typically keep it lower. I think the default is something like 300. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. But if you maxed it all out on one, that's it. You wouldn't be able to basically create any more, okay? Andy, how many sites and site collections can I actually create? Well, if you've got like a small business account, you can create one site collection, but many websites within it. If you've got an E-plan, yes, you can create up to 300 site collections with hundreds and hundreds of websites, okay? Again, it depends on the SKU that you've signed up for, all right? So that's basically what the quotas mean. But great question, sir. Okay, so, alrighty. So looking at site and site collections. Okay, so Windows PowerShell. So as I've mentioned, again, the exam, when you're covering the exam, a lot of it is through PowerShell. So SPO site, yes? So you want to create a new SharePoint site, new -SPO site, new -SPO user, okay? So be aware, again, I'm not going to do all of these PowerShell, these questions just now. You can have a look at these in your own time. Okay. How's that for a quick intro? Is that okay with SharePoint for a quick intro? Yeah? Okay, cool. What about Exchange then and Skype for Business? So again, Andy, you know, one of the prerequisites here, I need to be able to configure additional email addresses, manage external contacts, resources, groups, and so on, personal archives. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this. So let me give you a little demo of Exchange now. So I'm going to go into my admin center again. Let me just close these down. You know, I would normally do this, by the way, in a 5-day course. So it's like crazy, yes? Okay, so I'm going to go, where are we? Yeah, Exchange. This is Exchange Server 2016. There is no difference. Well, there is one difference. There is no servers menu, because servers on the SharePoint server product is where all your DAGs are, your disaster availability groups, your databases. I don't need to worry about those. This is why I'm paying Microsoft for this, all right? So you get the first thing is we've got recipients. okay? And you can see here that I've just created 3 recipients at the moment, okay? The reason is because all my other users, by the way, in Office 365, their mailboxes are actually on a mailbox server, okay? So I've not migrated them yet. So again, I can create a user. You can see that I've got the user's mailbox here. Let's just have a quick look. I've got a user here called John Snow, King of the North. And if I go into John's mailbox, you can see, just gives me a little bit of information about this. One quick tip, if you want to hide his address from the address list, so if your name was Satya Nadella, for example, you might want to hide your address from the staff list. Mailbox usage, again, shows me the last time the user logged on and how much of his mailbox has been used. Contact information, need I say more? Organization, one interesting thing here is the manager field. So if you give somebody manager rights, if that user leaves the company and you delete the user account, that mailbox goes into the recycle bin and the manager is notified. That manager will then have 30-day access to that mailbox, okay, which is quite good. Email addresses. So you get 2 types of email addresses. You get a SIP. This is for Skype for Business, of course. This is your voice. And you also get an SMTP type address. So Andy, can I have alternate addresses? Of course. This is where you add them in here. Exam question tip. All right? So that is where you add in additional email addresses. Probably the most important page here, by the way, the reason I'm getting this warning is it's just telling me that the user's not logged on. That's the reason why. Mailbox features. Okay, so in here, you've got things like the default retention policy, the role assignment policy. All of these, I would love to spend time with you and show you stuff. By the way, for the exam, we haven't got time here, but definitely check out setting retention policies, mailbox retention policies. We just literally don't have time, but there's a lab for it downstairs. But interesting things here, certainly for the one thing that you might be interested in is placing the mailbox on litigation hold. So if the user is leaving the company or there's a problem, you can place the mailbox in hold. You can either do it here, or actually an easier place to do it is in the Office 365 Security Center, okay, which I'll demo near the end. Another thing is archiving. So you can enable archiving for the user, and you can see that this archive is actually on. So if I just go into my Outlook here, you can see that in my Outlook, in quality here, there's my online archive. So again, this is basically an online version of those horrible PST files. Do you remember those? But rather than using PST files, you've got an archive, but you know that it's backed up, okay, which is awesome. All right? Other things, just a couple of things about delivery, restrictions, and mail flow, very interesting. If you migrate in and out of Office 365, the default, by the way, oops, sorry, came out of that too quick. Message size restrictions. Yeah, you can see that by default it's set to 35 meg. Yes, do you see that? So watch if you're migrating in. Remember, there's a default limit of 35 meg. Can I increase that? Not during the migration process, but later you can actually increase it up to 150 meg. Okay, so the maximum is up to 150 meg. That's both in and out, by the way. Okay. In terms of if you were doing a mail merge or you were doing a little marketing campaign, by the way, the magic number here is you can have 500 recipients. Yes, so you can only send it out to a maximum in batches of 500. By the way. Okay, groups. So you can create groups here, but the Microsoft are very much kind of pushing this Office 365 group that I mentioned earlier, but you can create them here as well, okay? Also, new to this version of Office 365, and it's just been announced, you can now upgrade public folders. There is now a new public folder migration tool that actually converts public folders into Office 365 groups. Yeah, I know. Yes. Don't start me on that one, okay? Okay, so you can also upgrade distribution groups as well. So, resources, you can create resource mailboxes, so things like a room, a piece of equipment like a projector or a company car, or in my case, a company bike. I can create contacts, so here's all my contacts from my mailboxes that are on premises. I can also create a shared mailbox as well. So if you want to share a mailbox with a team of people, you can do that here. And there's no license for this, by the way. But your users do need to be licensed. Okay? Migration, I'm going to come back to that in a little while. Okay, so that's that. Right. What's the old saying? So much to see, so little time to do it. Okay. Alrighty. Oh yes, Skype for Business. Okay, so again, Skype for Business. Let me show you this. I thought I would show you demos rather than lots of slides. So again, what I'm going to do is just close down Exchange. And this time, let's have a look at Skype for Business. So remember, if you're doing the 7347 exam, CS user, yes, is the key thing, yeah? So communication server, yes? So this is my Skype for Business admin center. And basically we have a few settings. Again, this is an E5, so it may differ from yours. If you've got an E3, for example, you may not see the voice and the web broadcasting and things like that. If I go into the users, I can see my users. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see them. And let me look at some of my user settings. So again, I'll use John Snow. Let's look at John's settings. Okay, so what kind of quality do we want John to see? So again, by default, he's getting HD video and so on. You can record all the meetings and so on, which is great. This always comes up as an exam question. External communications. So by default, or let's say for fun's sake, that you've got a graphic in a question with this in it. All right? And it's set up by default. It says external Skype for business users, and you can also communicate with external Skype users. Okay, fair enough. That sounds nice. Remember this setting, okay? I'll come back to it in a second. Dial-in conferencing. So this being an E5, my user is configured for dial-in conferencing, okay? Now, what's the minimum requirement for voice? The plan is an E3 plan. You must have a minimum of an E3 plan, and you can bolt the voice bits on, all right? So don't get tricked into thinking it's all got to be an E5. It doesn't, all right? So that's the end user settings. I mean, you see what I mean? There's nothing to it. It's pretty simple. Let's talk about the organization settings then, all right? So the organization settings, look, check it out. Presence privacy mode. This is the traffic lights that you get. You know, when you're in Outlook and that, so the red, amber, and so on. So do you want to automatically display presence information and presence information only to a user's contact? Mobile phone push services. So you've got the Apple and you've got Microsoft. What about Android? Android deals with the Microsoft. Yeah. You've got this tab here, external communications. So allow external Skype users external access. And you can either do it through either a whitelist, so it's off completely. And the thing is, if I would set that up here and then go back into the end user settings, even though the end user's ticked and it's on at the end user, it would not work. You see the test question you could see here, yes? So watch out for that. So look at the exhibits that you might get. right? That will definitely come up as an exam question, all right? Always does, all right? So you can either set this up, are you going to allow external access? Are you going to do it for all on except for block domains? Or are you going to have it on only for allowed domains? So you're going to have a whitelist or are you going to have a blacklist type scenario, all right? So you can then say, I'm going to have it on except for any block domains, and then you can put in the block domains here. Now check this out. Public IM connectivity. Let people who use Skype for Business to communicate with Skype outside your organization. Again, only if that checkbox is selected. All right? That, again, is an exam question. Apparently. What would I know? Okay. Okay, so, yeah. So, again, the rest of it, call routing. Okay, so if you want to add an auto attendant for Skype voice, you can do that here. You can view the call queues in your organization here. Dial-in conferencing uses the Microsoft, in this case with the E5, uses a Microsoft Bridge service. So you get the toll-free numbers that you can use, and you can distribute those to your users. If you have got an E3 or an E1 or any of the others, you can actually subscribe to third parties like AT&T, yes? And they will provide you with these numbers and an access code, and you can put them into user accounts, all right? Yeah, meetings. Okay, so this is where you can set up a meeting invitation. Broadcast meetings is a feature of E5, and this is where you can do like a town hall type scenario. And with the town hall, you can actually broadcast up to 10,000 users. Yes, you can have your own kind of mini conference, if you will, and that's very nice. Okay, tools. So if you're planning to do hybrid, all the kind of connectivity analyzers, everything is here in one place. And then again, you've got some reporting features there. And that's pretty much the GUI side of Skype for Business.
One question.
Go ahead, sir.
Are these all based on tenant level settings, org settings, or just it could be specifically one user to?
Okay, great question. I'm just going to repeat the question for the audio recording. So the question was there, are all the settings that I just showed, are they tenant level or are they for individual users? Other than the individual user thing that I just went to, they're all tenant level, okay? Okay. Go ahead, sir. Okay, the question is, for a broadcast meeting, isn't an E3 license enough? The answer is no, but you can bolt it on. Yes? So, sorry, yes, you can have the minimum of an E3, but you can pay extra to bolt it on. All right?
That works, but without a conference styling number.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, E5, you get the full functionality with the E5 with it. Okay, so again, sample questions here. You need to disable Skype IM conversations for a link user. What setting would you disable? And the answer is that one. Okay, you would the external communications for that particular user. All right. So be familiar with the admin center and the settings, the user and the tenant and settings. Okay. Go ahead.
You said Microsoft Teams will replace Skype for Business.
Correct.
So this Skype for Business going to go away from the exam?
It will typically, the refresh for the exam normally is done, it used to be every 6 months. Now we're starting to do it every 3 months. Okay, so you're going to start seeing, and it's, you know, in the past it was almost like Patch Tuesday. Remember Patch Tuesday, when we used to get kind of massive kind of changes? And now what you're starting to see, it's more of a kind of drip, drip, drip approach to the questions. So as the technology is released, you'll start seeing that the refresh rates for the exams are starting to kind of come in a lot quicker. All right. The Teams. Teams is, well, it's already been announced now. Yeah, yeah. Correct. I know that they're merging them at the moment, and, you know, at this conference, you'll know that they'll announce stuff, and then it could be like 3 months before you see it, yes? So you'll see all the new glitzy stuff, but it could be like a little while before they actually roll it out. And again, depending where you are in the world as well. For example, if you're in, you know, Asia, you might see it, the US might see it before Asia, or Europe might see it before the US, and so on, depending on how it's deployed in the data centers. Okay, security is very important to me. So managing security, you can obviously managing anti-malware, things like mailbox migration, plan for exchange online, and so on. Also, global external, I've just showed you the global external communication settings. But let me just show a quick, really interesting feature here. If I go back into my Exchange, so back into Office 365, oops, sorry. So back into my Office 365 Admin Center, and let me just put it this way. In the past few years, we've seen Exchange, we've seen SharePoint, we've seen Skype for Business, and we know that each of these products has got its own security. And what Microsoft are now doing, mainly because of compliance requirements throughout the world, they're now producing one single security client. And the idea is that you can set security up here, and it kind of filters through absolutely everything. So we've got this Security and Compliance Center. So again, this is an E5 SKU, so some of these features may not be in all of your tenants. The one I want to just mention here is threat management. So in threat management, you've got things like, if I click into policy, this is where I can go, for example, and have a look at my anti-malware settings, my things like anti-spam settings as well. DKIM, by the way, is your digital key, your secure key. So if you were a bank, for example, and you wanted to transmit, you could then put your secure signature on an email. This is why you get this, all right? These are the two features are advanced threat protection. Again, this is specific to an E5 as well. So for example, if I just show you the anti-malware engine just very quickly, this is actually, so you can see here, here's a perfect example. This is, all it's done here is it's gone into Exchange Online. This is a setting in Exchange Online. And this is basically where you configure your anti-malware settings, okay? I particularly love this one, by the way. If I discover malware, notify the external sender that their malware has been successfully delivered. I'm joking, by the way. But I can't believe it actually says notify the external sender. So the settings there are really quite simple, all right? Another thing that's quite good is if I just go back here, and again you've got your anti-spam, and this is an example where they have updated the interface. It opens almost immediately. Come on. Okay, so you can see that they have updated this interface. So this is the new spam interface, and you get standard settings by default here. Can I just reiterate what I said in the first session? You must include an SPF record in your DNS for this to be picked up, all right? So you must have an SPF record, your spam filtering DNS record, okay? So again, you can either accept the standard settings, but you can also set up allow lists and block lists. So this is where you can block specific domains, specific countries, for example. So if you don't want to receive any spam from Russia, you can block Russia or what have you. So you can both set up block lists and you can set up allow lists as well. The other thing that you can also do is you can set up, you can do by block by IP address. So if somebody, for example, in Asia somewhere might be trying to hack you, then you can actually block by IP address. Again, just take a few moments to take a look through the spam filtering settings. They're quite good. But it's really nice. You see that they're kind of migrating and they're building all these new portals. And this is an example of the new next-gen portal. So as I say, you've got the standard here and you've also got the custom settings. So you can actually go in and you can manually configure these as well. All right?
So if you've been set up for years, and you had to do stuff the old hard way, does it translate over? We've been noticing some weird stuff like where some of the scans kind of flow through now, like, whatever happened to the old scans?
Yeah, remember, especially if you do a migration. If you do a migration, you're migrating to a brand new system. And sometimes not all of your old settings come across. So you've got to be aware that, okay, I need to update all this stuff. A lot of people forget to do that, all right? But the biggest thing I see is people don't put the SPF records in. And they go, this spam is rubbish, it's not picking anything up. And it's because you've not got the DNS record in, okay? It is. It is, exactly. It is. You can do that. Do you know, I mean, I often get asked this, should I use third party? I tell you, this is getting really good. If you set it up correctly and you set the rules up, you can set your various rules up. It's as good as any of them out there.
It's good because they have scale now.
Absolutely.
So much you're doing this when they have scale.
Totally, totally. I mean, I don't see the point of paying for things twice, so, okay. Yeah, so Security and Compliance Center, definitely take a look at that. As I mentioned, what about migrating to Office 365? So migrating to Office 365 is, okay, Andy, I've got a server here. I want to bring it in. So the question is, what kind of server is it? Is it an Exchange? Is it Novell GroupWise? Is it Lotus Notes? What is it? What kind of server is it? How many users? Do they want coexistence? So this morning I deployed Azure AD Connect. I showed you how to do that. And when you deploy Azure AD Connect, what does it take? It takes users, it takes groups, and it takes mail, and it takes the mailboxes, and it pulls them across, and it creates mail-enabled contacts here. In other words, you get a unified global address list. So when I'm migrating mailboxes across, for example, I did a school recently. So we pull the kids across into 365. The teachers stay on premises, but when either party goes in to Outlook, they see a global address list. Get it? That's called simple coexistence, right? And that's one of the features that Azure AD Connect does. But we can also do what we call rich coexistence, and this is essentially where we're putting in a hybrid server. And again, I'll cover that in a second. So having a plan is really important. So what is it you're trying to do? Are you trying to migrate? Or are you trying to have a hybrid solution? Remember, when you migrate, you're pulling them on. Basically, you're creating brand new accounts, brand new mailboxes, pulling them across, and then essentially you're just going to, cut that cord, change the MX records, point to the new server, and then basically turn that old box into a coffee table. Yes, essentially. All right? So, okay. So the first type of migration, well, one I've missed here actually is PST. So the first type of migration is an IMAP migration. So any kind of mail can be done through IMAP. Not Exchange, typically. You wouldn't do Exchange. But Novell, Lotus Notes, whether it's Gmail, whether it's Hotmail, anything, anything you can bring in as IMAP. The gotcha with IMAP, by the way, is you must create the user account and the mailbox first in 365. You must create it first. Okay? Once you've done that, you could then the mail, you basically copy it across, and then you can just disconnect the old stuff. Okay? Other key things as well, yeah, it works with a huge number of different vendors. Users can be migrated in batches using CSV files, yes, that I showed you earlier on. The gotcha is it only brings across mailboxes. So if you've got like pop mail or something like that, if the users are using things like, if they've got calendars and contacts, you need to bring that into a PST file and bring that across as well. Okay, that's a bit of a laborious process. Yeah. Andy, do you use a third-party tool, MigrationWiz? Absolutely brilliant tool. That's what I use. All right. Okay, so key things there. An IMAP migration only brings mailboxes. You must create the user accounts first. Cutover migration, on the other hand. What if I do have Exchange? So if I've got Exchange 2007 and above, well, it's the migration wizard in Exchange. It does the whole thing for you. So it creates the user accounts, it creates the mailboxes, it migrates everything across, and then all you do is cut the cable at the end. All right? You don't need to provision anything, and it brings everything across. Okay? What's the downside? Watch out, remember, for the attachments 35 meg and above. Remember, maximum is 35 meg for the attachment limit because you haven't changed it yet. Watch out for that. Of course, because it's brand new, it doesn't have access to passwords, so you'll need to distribute the new passwords to the mailboxes. And the downside of migration, of course, is you're going to need to distribute that OST file. Yeah, you know, the offline store file for your users. So just be aware of that. Staged migration is identical, an identical method. The only difference here is you are using Azure AD Connect. And Azure AD Connect is syncing the user accounts in already, okay? But the method is identical, all right? So just to say, if I just flip back to my portal, and I am going to run out of time again. How long have I got? 10 minutes? I'm okay. So if I go into back into my portal, back into Exchange, show you this here. So essentially, if you go into recipients, into the migration tab, and do I want to migrate in or out of Exchange? I want to migrate in, and this is it. Okay, so these are my options here. Do you want to do a remote move? A remote move, by the way, is a hybrid migration. Okay? Do you want to do a staged, a cutover, okay, or an IMAP? Do you notice that the cutover for me is not working? Anybody want to take a guess? Why? Because I've got AD Connect using. Yes, that's correct. And that could almost be an exam question. Okay? So why could I not do a cutover migration? It's because I'm using Azure AD Connect. That's right. Okay. You're brilliant. You'll definitely pass the exam. Okay. Okay, so, cool. All right, let's see. Migration tool, yeah, I've just gone through that. Notice the migration box there. Do you see it says new migration batch? Do you see that? I wonder what the PowerShell command for that could be. New migration batch. Yes, new dash migration batch. Easy. So you can do all of this through PowerShell as well. Okay. Again, I'm just going to miss these questions just to save time. You've got the slides later. On the subject of hybrid, okay, so the disadvantage of migration, especially if you've got like 20,000 users, is you're going to need to reconfigure Outlook because it's a new account. How can I get around this, I hear you say? Great question, thanks. Okay, so what I can do is I can install a hybrid server on my network. Have you heard of an Outlook Web Access server? Okay, so you know what Outlook Web Access is. So on your network, you've got an Outlook Web Access server. By installing a hybrid server, it moves that role onto this new server. Okay? So when your users log in, yes, it basically says, oh, your mailbox is here. Your mailbox is here. That's all it's doing. Okay? In other words, it's a router. A router. A router. Super. Okay? Sorry. So that's one of the benefits. And the other major benefit here is you don't need to reconfigure the users. Okay? So it sees, you can see that I've got Exchange here, and Exchange on premises, it basically establishes a relationship, and it essentially treats Exchange Online just as an extension of itself. It's like another server on the network. Okay? And get it, the license is free. You can have an Exchange license for free for this. All right? You wouldn't do it with 20 users, let me put it that way. You would only, financially, it wouldn't be worth it.
Only one license?
Only one license. You just need, well, it's a license for the CAS server role.
Yeah, but if they think about high availability.
Tough. Yeah, you need to pay for all that stuff. But you wouldn't need, yeah. But you can deploy it in a number of different roles, yes? I'm not getting into licensing arguments. But, yeah, you can have devices for that. You could do devices for that. So you can see the differences between hybrid. You get the full Boona, the full thing here, yes? So full features, full functionality. Prerequisites, you must have Azure AD Connect. You need a free hybrid server. You must have a digital certificate. You must do your digital certificate. ADFS is optional, and the Edge Transport Server role is also optional. So typical deployment, I deploy Exchange, configure my certificates, set up Azure AD Connect, configure the certificate, and I configure the web services through IIS. I then essentially just run the hybrid wizard and change my MX record. Okay. So what the hybrid wizard does, it basically says, okay, this is what I've got. This is where I need to be. This is what I've got, and this is what I need to do to get there. Okay? And then it essentially does it. How does it do it? Again, just for time, that's what's essentially going on underneath the wizard. So I thought you'd like, this is just for your information, this is just all the PowerShell that's going on underneath the wizard, okay? And again, you can read this later. So let's see how to do a hybrid. So this is a real hybrid solution. Let me show you. So I'm going to go, I've put my lab certificate into, this is my on-premises Exchange server. I've put in, here's my servers on-premises. You can see all my mailboxes here are on-premises, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip over into my server here. I'm going to go into DNS, and locally, this is my local DNS server, I'm going to create a record called hybrid, which is pointing to the IP address of my CAS server. Once I've done that, I then flip over into my external DNS server. And again, I create another record called hybrid, which is pointing to my live public IP address. All right? So once I've done that, that's it. I've published the certificate, so I now, on the Exchange server, install my public certificate. And I mention, by the way, before you walk out, you won't see this anywhere else. So you just read this in books. I would definitely learn this. Okay? So you can see that I've published my digital certificate. And you can see I've set it up for SMTP and IIS. Okay? I can save this. My certificate has been published to my Exchange server. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to flip over into my Exchange Admin Center. And in my Admin Center, I'm going to click down on the hybrid option. And I'm going to configure the hybrid wizard. In here, it says, okay, do you want to just run the preparation wizard and so on? So yes, I do. I do apologize, I'm going to run a couple of minutes over, just to warn everybody. I apologize for this. So the hybrid wizard detects my on-premises server, yes, and it says, okay, where do you want to put your Office 365 in the world? So I'm just choosing worldwide, then that will pick your local data center. I click next, and it then says I put in my credentials, so I put in my current Windows credentials, okay, and just put my password in here. This is my on-premises credentials. So this is just like the Azure AD Connect tool that I showed you earlier, okay? And now I put in my 365 credentials, okay? And I click next, okay? And it makes the connection. Yay. Okay, so once it makes the connection, it then says, okay, do you want to configure the minimal hybrid, or let's go for the full thing? Okay, so I'm going for the full hybrid here. So click next. And it says, okay, do you want to establish a federation trust? So remember when we set up Azure AD Connect, it generated a text file for DNS. Remember that? A text record. So here it does the same thing. You need to prove ownership. So again, it will generate another text record. Okay, so it establishes the trust almost immediately. And there's the text record there. Now, to be honest, in my demo here, the copy to clipboard option didn't work. And if that's the case, this is brilliant. You can just flip over into PowerShell, and if you type in the following, get-federated domain proof, get-federated domain proof, okay? And put in your credentials, put in your password, and we take the text record. You can see that really long record. It's got 2 equal signs on the end. Make sure you take the whole thing. Okay? Copy. We flip over into DNS, your live DNS, of course. So I'm just going to put it into a text file here, because it's on a different server. Okay? Okay, so switch over to TMG1. Okay. So flip over to TMG1. I'm going to create a new record here. Oh, just open that proof first of all. Copy that proof. Now, just a word of warning, this can take a little bit of time, and if it doesn't work at first, just keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually it does take it. All right? It does. It's just like a timing thing. Okay? Okay, I'm going to create a new text record. So again, just like the MS record earlier, and just paste it in. Make sure there's no spaces at the end. You've got the 2 equal signs. Make sure that that's in, and then click OK. Looks good. All right, click OK. So now we flip back to our Exchange server. Just close this down. And we're now good to verify it. So I've added the record. Let's verify domain ownership. Yeah, verify it, and you can see it's worked. So configure client access and mailbox server. No problem. Click on next. Okay, looks good. This is something, by the way, you only read about. You don't even do this in a Microsoft course, by the way. So select the receive connector, and in this case, the receive and the send connector is the same box. So this is my this is MBX2. Click next. My transport certificate, it will automatically detect it. Please note, do not use the internal certificates. Make sure that you choose a public certificate, which is the middle certificate. Okay? Click on next. And that's it. Okay? So off it goes. You now just configure. And that's it. Okay? It finishes the wizard, and you're now in full hybrid. So, there's books, courses, instructor-led training, and more importantly, there's the practice test that you guys can get discounts here. You can, I'll make sure all these slides are downloadable right now. You can try the self-paced labs. Do you feel that you're a little bit wiser now? Yes? I hope so. Did I mention, by the way, I've written a book? Okay? Here's my new book coming in November. And what can I say? My name is Andy Malone. You've been awesome. Thank you.